Hello guys and welcome to our channel, the Doo Sloth Talk from the University of Basu. For first-time listeners or those who haven't subscribed to our channel, I'm Doris, aka the Doo Bird.
And I'm Shirley, aka the Sloth. I live an unhurried lifestyle, and it's all about appreciating the little joys in life.
I am the Doo, a flightless bird who went extinct about 400 years ago. My extinction is caused by human massive killing, so watch out. I can be very cynical and judgmental to humans.
Today we want to talk about college admissions, its history, transition, and how factors in it have changed their relative importance.
So, Miss Sloth, how did you get into the great University of Basu?
I spent all of my 3 years of high school preparing for the college application. Since it's a very good school, I got a GPA of 4, and I got 34 in ACT, I got reference letters, I did a bunch of extracurricular activities, and most importantly, I put a lot of efforts into writing the essays, and I believe it's the most important part that represents my identity as a student and applicant in the application process.
Well, for me, the great University of Basu has been my dream school of all times, and I did anything I could to get into it.
I thought you were cynical and wouldn't want to participate in this kind of instrumental competitions.
You want to hear some more cynical ideas? Well, humans' college admission overall is just a complicated system to pick up the winners. And, as humans are all self-centered and are only motivated for their own interests, they are willing to do anything to stand out from this competition. In order to keep up with my competitors, I followed every single tip. Acing every exam and getting a good GPA, participating in every board and volunteer work, and founding social entrepreneurships just to add college to my resume. And most importantly, I carefully analyzed hundreds of personal statements that got them into elite colleges and found out a trend. Following this trend, I created the perfect essay.
Oh my god, I'm so surprised to hear that. Is it a goal of higher education to help individuals reach their full potential and achieve their goals, regardless of their background or competitive advantages? It's so disheartening to hear that some people feel the need to resort to extreme measures in order to go above and beyond in this process. And I believe that being true to oneself and sharing one's authentic story is more important than simply following a trend or creating an ideal essay. Speaking of essays, did you know that the history of college admission essays actually dates back to the early 20th century? It wasn't until the 1920s that college started using essays as a way to evaluate applicants beyond their test scores and grades. It's fascinating how this transition has evolved over the years, isn't it?
Wow, I didn't expect you to know so much about it, Miss Sloth. You really surprised me. As a knowledgeable bird from the ancient, I can elaborate more on the development of college admissions in the United States. So the college admissions started from the 17th or 18th century, and it was the story of the admission policies and practices at Harvard University, given that Harvard was the pioneer of elite education at that time. Candidates for admission were examined on their ability to read and translate Latin and Greek, and a careful check was made of their character and background. So you can see that the earliest admission process was very biased and objective. The ability to master Latin and Greek was considered the most important factor of college admission, while neglecting other academic potentials apart from the languages. Also, they carefully checked the background because they wanted to enroll the noble and wealthy people to keep an elite education environment. So under such conditions, it was very unlikely for people with a low socioeconomic background to get higher education.
Perhaps this was because of very limited education resources back then. It's amazing how, over time, education has changed from a special resource that only noble people can get access to education nowadays that's strived to target as many people as possible.
Well, you might be right. With the rapid advancement in education, most children nowadays do have access to higher education, but inequality in education resources still exists among the current society. Anyways, back to the history of college admissions. So after 1870, colleges were updating and adding requirements, which can be assumed to be the foundation of requirements today. As the subject English became more prominent in admission requirements, Harvard decided to require a short essay based on a particular prompt each year, which is likely the foundation of the various essay prompts that the majority of colleges nowadays still use. The decade 1949 to 1959 witnessed an increased interest in standardized examinations sponsored by regional or national associations. The most apparent development in college admissions during the decade of the 60s was the growing emphasis placed upon environmental and non-intellectual factors in the admission process. Admissions directors particularly desired information on character, emotional stability, and leadership qualities. While comparatively fixed patterns of secondary school requirements for entrance still exist, the typical college allowed individual variations from these requirements if the candidate was otherwise qualified. This shift in emphasis from the prospective students' academic abilities to their personal attributes were heralded by many as a major breakthrough in the area of college admissions during the 1960s. The most salient and important trend in college admissions during the 1960s was the growing concern for the inclusion of environmental and non-intellective variables in the selection process. The admission office at Harvard became much more interested in the details of an applicant's personal life. A person named Lowell told his admission officers to elicit information about the character of candidates from persons who know the applicants well, and so the letter of reference became mandatory. Harvard started asking applicants to provide a photograph. Candidates had to write their personal essays, demonstrating their aptitude for leadership, and list their extracurricular activities. Starting in the fall of 1922, Carabel writes, applicants were required to answer questions on race and color, religious preference, maiden name of mother, birthday place of father, and what change, if any, has been made since birth in your own name or that of your father.
Yes, at first, these essays were fairly straightforward and focused on topics like why the applicants wanted to attend a college or what their future goals were. But over time, they've evolved to become more personal and reflective, allowing applicants to share their unique perspectives and experiences with the admissions committee. And it's just so great to see such transition. This revised system can know students from a more holistic perspective and view them as vivid individuals instead of scores or a sheet of resumes. College essays, in this case, are doing a great job of evaluating students' non-intellectual qualities that aren't quantifiable, and among other things, the students' interests in attending the college, their writing ability, and their plans of post-secondary education. When I talked with Michelle, a current freshman at University of Madison, about the role of college essay in the admission process, she said,
Personally, from the experience and research that I've done, I think the college essay is one of the most important parts of the admission process because over the years, as they lean further away from GPAs, they lean more towards extracurriculars, and your admission essay is one of the most important things that they will read. And for a lot of students that don't have high GPAs or have potentials outside of just grades, I think it accurately represents them. For me, I think my admission essay was a pretty good representation because I spoke a lot about my own story outside of grades, and I think it was a good opportunity for me to be something beyond my grades.
Yeah.
For my personal statement, I spoke about my traveling in a sense, because my dad's work actually, we moved to the U.S. when I was 2, and we stayed here for 12 years as he got like an education, and I moved back again at the beginning of my high school career. And so I kind of talked about the struggles and difficulties of the ever-changing environment. And
So that's why I'm strongly in favor of the college admission essays. And you know, essays are gaining their importance in recent years. It's good to see.
Let's hear about it.
A survey by the National Association for College Admission Counseling in 2005 found that essay as a factor in admission has continued to grow in importance over the last 11 years. In 1993, only 14% of colleges reported a student's essay had considerable importance in college admission, but by 2004, the number had risen to 25%.
Well, you might be right, but sadly, college admission essays nowadays have changed so much from their original intention. It is instead a high-stakes competitive writing task that can make the difference between college acceptance or rejection. Applicants no longer treat it as a space for free writing and storytelling, but more as a short path towards getting into their dream schools, or an alternative solution to gain attention and add color to their overall applications. So for our next episode, we will continue our topic on essays in college admissions, but we will add more spice to it.
Oh, what spice? Sweetener? Salt and pepper?
Absolutely no. Probably wasabi or some ghost pepper chili powder will do.